What if I told you that New Orleans police have been secretly using AI to track citizens in real time, making arrests based on facial recognition without oversight or transparency? This isn't some sort of dystopian sci-fi plot. It's happening right now, and it could be coming to your city next. Unless you live in New Orleans, in which case it's already there. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how this surveillance technology works, why it matters to your future, and what rights you might be losing without even knowing it. I'm Evan Goldstein. I'm a licensed professional engineer and a data scientist. I'm creating AI Capitalist to talk to the leaders and the thinkers, like you, about navigating this brave new world of thinking machines. The New Orleans Police Department has been secretly using one of the most invasive AI surveillance systems ever deployed on American soil. They've been monitoring citizens in real time through a network of over 200 cameras that automatically ping officers' phones when facial recognition software believes it's found a match. But here's where it gets really disturbing. This entire operation appears to have been running in direct violation of the city's own 2022 ordinance designed to prevent exactly this kind of unchecked surveillance. What makes this case so different from other facial recognition controversies is the immediate action component. Most police departments use facial recognition retroactively to identify suspects from crime scene footage. New Orleans police have been using it to proactively track and instantly detain people as they move through public spaces. In other words, they apparently have a database of suspects, and as soon as a suspect pings on a body cam or a surveillance camera, they immediately move out to arrest the person. Now, the system was supposed to have strict limitations, only used for violent crime investigations, requiring 2 trained examiners to verify matches before any arrest. But what actually happened? Officers completely circumvented these safeguards because they found them to be too sluggish. You might be wondering why this matters so much. After all, if it helps catch criminals, what's the problem? The problem is that none of these AI-assisted arrests were ever reported to the city council as is required by law. The department was making dozens of arrests while keeping the entire program hidden from oversight. Even more concerning, at least 4 people were arrested for nonviolent crimes, exactly the type of cases that the ordinance prohibited facial recognition from being used for. This isn't just breaking a local rule. It represents what the ACLU calls the first known widespread effort by police in a major US city to use AI to identify people in live camera feeds for the purpose of making immediate arrests. We're witnessing the emergence of real-time surveillance capabilities that were previously only possible in authoritarian regimes. The most alarming part here is what we don't know. Since this program operated in secret, we have no idea how many false matches occurred or how many innocent people were wrongfully detained. Facial recognition technology is notoriously unreliable, particularly for people of color, but officers were making split-second detention decisions based on AI alerts. The camera network is run by Project NOLA, a nonprofit founded by an ex-cop specifically to monitor a crime-heavy area. Their claim that their system helped with at least 34 arrests since 2023 is not really verifiable. When investigators tried to verify it, they hit a wall. The city doesn't actually track this data, and Project NOLA doesn't publish case records. Meanwhile, official police records that were submitted to the city council claim that the network only proved useful in a single case. Now, the massive discrepancy between those numbers should set off alarm bells for anyone concerned about transparency in policing. What's particularly troubling is how this technology could be weaponized against specific communities. The ACLU is warning that immigrants, activists, and government critics could be added to Project NOLA's watch list without public knowledge and with zero accountability. Now, this does create a chilling effect on free speech and assembly, which are core constitutional rights, although it may not directly violate them. So there are 4 states that have banned this technology. That would be Maryland, Montana, Vermont, and Virginia. And there are also 19 cities that banned the practice of using facial recognition for immediate arrests. This combination of flawed technology and rushed judgment has already led to at least 8 documented wrongful arrests across America. Now, the New Orleans Police Department spokesperson, when confronted with this, claimed that the department does not own, rely on, manage, or condone the use of AI systems associated with Project NOLA cameras. But the evidence suggests otherwise, and the police department has paused the program amid growing backlash. The superintendent there, Ann Kirkpatrick, is promising a review, but it does suggest that we've hit a critical inflection point in how AI surveillance is deployed in American cities. We could end up in a world where algorithmic suspicion replaces due process, your face becomes probable cause, and being in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong facial features could result in immediate detention. So how is this story lighting up different corners of the internet? Because everyone's got an opinion, right? So on Twitter, it's chaos. You've got privacy hawks and civil libertarians dunking on law enforcement for secretly rolling out AI surveillance without any public oversight. There's a lot of references to Minority Report or the Chinese Communist Party hammering out authoritarian overreach. There's a lot of stories of facial recognition gone wrong, wrongful arrests, systemic bias, all of that. And a smaller but loud crowd is asking, why are we trusting government agencies with these black box tools when even the tech companies admit that their algorithms are flawed? It's like giving a toddler a chainsaw and hoping for the best. Over on Facebook, the conversation is split along familiar battle lines. You've got the nothing to hide, nothing to fear crowd who see cameras as necessary to keep neighborhoods safe, but even some of them are side-eyeing the secrecy. No one likes feeling watched without consent. But when you think about it, almost, how many of your neighbors have the Ring camera who sees everything? Now on Reddit, the debate gets a little more technical and a little more cynical. People are posting breakdowns of how these AI systems work and don't, and they're citing studies about algorithmic bias and the sheer volume of false positives that these cameras generate. There's a lot of the, imagine if this was your grandma getting stopped because the AI thought she looked like a wanted suspect hypotheticals. There's also a lot of eye rolling at police departments who claim that the cameras are just tools, as if that magically erases the risk of abuse or error. TikTok has a lot of hot takes and quick explainers and viral outrage, clips showing how easy it is for these AI models to misidentify faces and rack up views. So do videos comparing US surveillance creep to what's happening in authoritarian states. Now there's the whole they're watching you whether you like it or not vibe, but it's especially true with the younger viewers who grew up knowing that their phones and laptops are always listening and have just learned to live with this kind of thing. So the bottom line is that every platform has its flavor, but the same themes keep popping up: authenticity, transparency, and the creeping sense that the line between public safety and a police state is getting dangerously blurry. And when the people supposed to protect your rights are playing hide and seek with your privacy, it's a recipe for distrust and outrage and a lot of memes. Okay, with all that, what's the AI capitalist approach? This is a case of classic government wanting its cake and eating it too. New Orleans creates an ordinance with procedural safeguards and then quietly circumvents those same guardrails because they're too sluggish for real-world policing. This pattern repeats throughout history. Bureaucracy creates rules, then finds them inconvenient when actually trying to get things done. The reality is that the entire premise of this program is flawed. We're trusting AI facial recognition systems that have repeatedly shown significant error rates, especially with certain demographics. The city claims to need trained examiners to confirm matches, but it bypasses that same safeguard. And it's not just hypocritical, it's revealing a fundamental misunderstanding about the limits of the technology they're deploying. They're treating statistical probabilities as certainties, which is the computational equivalent of confusing the map for the territory, or the model personality for a real personality. And the socio-political implications are more troubling. Public-private surveillance partnership creates a perfect storm of unaccountability. The police can claim that they don't own or manage the system, but they still use and get benefit from its outputs. The private entity operates with minimal oversight, and it functions as like a law enforcement appendage. This is really regulatory arbitrage applied to civil liberties. It's exactly what happens when you combine government power with private sector tools, but maintain plausible deniability. Now, looking at it, what happens to human nature in a society of perpetual surveillance? When every public space becomes a potential crime scene where your face is constantly being scanned against a database of suspects. This isn't just about privacy, it's about the psychological impact of living in panopticon. Humans behave differently when they know they're being watched. The spontaneity and freedom that define public life get replaced by subtle but persistent self-policing. In the United States, we have a constitution that guarantees us certain rights. But just knowing that the government could violate those rights if it wanted to because the technology now exists and is pervasive, basically may cause you to lose those rights without actually losing them, in a legal sense at least. You can see this if you travel to authoritarian societies. If you go to, say, countries in Latin America which don't have a great track record on liberty and democratic freedom, the fact is that As long as you stay out of the government, out of El Supremo's way, you don't get involved in politics, you're actually a lot freer than you are in other countries. One way to test this, if you travel, walk around with your shoes untied. If you're in a country where people constantly come up to you and tell you to tie your shoes, it's a good hint that you don't quite have the freedoms that may be enshrined in law but not practiced in society. Now, I'm assuming most of these countries that are sort of soft dictatorships, a lot of them in Southeast Asia or wherever, are actually pretty poor. In Singapore, they're watching your every move. It's a technologically advanced society, and you can be fined for putting gum on the floor. But you go to Thailand, it's a different story. Now, one liberty that hasn't been taken away is political discussion. So if you travel somewhere like Dubai and you start to talk about the government, what's your opinion of the government to people, you'll notice that people will withdraw, change the topic of conversation to something else. And I'm noticing that in this country as well. Not necessarily fear of a police state, but the politics has become so insane and so extreme and polarized that you just can't have those conversations anymore. And these cameras everywhere, constantly watching you, recognizing your face, comparing you to a list of suspects, isn't going to help with that phenomenon. It's only going to cause people to feel more boxed in and less. From a technological perspective, this is a classic case of capability outrunning wisdom. Just because we can build a real-time facial recognition system doesn't mean that we should deploy it with minimal oversight. We're already seeing this, and we've seen it for a while, with vehicle collection. So for people who get behind on their car payments and their car gets possessed or has a lien against it, we now have people driving in parking lots with cameras that can photograph and instantly identify license plates. And when they find a vehicle that's behind on its payments, they can call the repo man. He shows up in the parking lot and takes the car, and you don't have a chance to catch up on your payments. It's just gone. The fact that 4 states now explicitly ban the practice of arrest based on facial recognition shows that there's at least some recognition that immediate arrests based on AI matches is just a bridge too far. If you did have a tyrannical government that was starting to round up dissidents, couldn't this be used as an excuse to round those people up? Technology should be used as a tool to enhance human judgment, not replace it with algorithmic certainty. So what's your take? Is this just efficient police using the best tools available? Or is this the road to Big Brother in 1984? Leave your comments below. So if this intricate dance between surveillance and civil liberties piqued your interest, you have to check out our episode about the unsettling implications of AI's hidden moral compass. You can look into the layers of ethical programming and uncover the perplexing truth behind AI systems that we trust to make crucial decisions. Are these digital judges actually impartial, or are they flawed giants in disguise? Let's look at the shadowy intersections between technology and morality that could redefine our future. And if you're getting value from this episode, I would appreciate it if you push that like button. Pressing like lets me know that I'm making content you want to see, and it spreads that content to others. Thank you for supporting AI Capitalist.